The Paycheck Protection Program, otherwise known as PPP, was a program that was designed to help small businesses when it came to their paychecks for their employees, so they didn't have to fire nearly as many people. So I'm going to run through a quick outline. I'm going to talk about what exactly this program was. I'm going to cover some of the guidelines along with some things about the forgiveness for the loans. I'm going to talk about the reasoning for our government having to implement this, and then I'm also going to discuss the execution, and then I will follow that up with a conclusion and a short anecdote about a local business, actually. The Paycheck Protection Program, otherwise known as PPP, was scripted up by our government to help many small businesses keep their employees so they wouldn't have to fire them, because a lot of them had to close down. So with this corona pandemic, many businesses had to close doors because we had social distancing, had to keep people separated to prevent the spread. So on March 27th, Donald Trump signed an order that then went through Congress to help with a lot of different financial aid programs, but the one that I'm covering is the Paycheck Protection Program for small businesses. The implementation was done up in about a month, because like I said, March 27th was when it got implemented, and then throughout early April, they got it set up, they got the application process going, and it started going through. So some of the guidelines they sound pretty simple, but the application process was actually very complicated, as far as I've heard from my older brother who worked at a bank and spent a lot of time looking over these applications, and then also from the business that I will mention later. To apply, you've got to be a qualifying small business. This meant some of the major guidelines were you had to have 500 or fewer employees, a tribal business, independently owned franchise, self-employed workers, independent contractors, sole proprietors. Another thing is that you can apply for the lesser of 10 million or 2.5 times your average monthly payroll. So the program originally opened with about $350 billion. And then they thought that might be enough. It really wasn't. But so they ended up actually having a program for loan forgiveness, complete forgiveness for these loans. The guidelines were that they could not fire workers within an 8-week period of receiving the money, or applying rather, and then employees could retire, but they couldn't be fired, and they couldn't be forced retired either. They were also allowed to spend up to 25% on non-payroll expenses. So whether that be debt, I don't know, some financing something else, but they had to spend it 75% on paychecks. The reasons for this, obviously paycheck protection, it's right in the name, but many businesses needed help with low or no operations, because with lots of people getting fired or not having jobs, being laid off, less money in the economy equals less people spending things even at these small businesses that can stay open, such as one that I will mention later. But overall, less money, so the government wanted to kind of influx some money, and this is one of the ways that they decided to achieve that. Obviously, employees needed payment to stay living, but they couldn't work for it anymore because a lot of these businesses closed. Affording small businesses easy loans to pay their workers and to keep unemployment down was really a major option. So like I said earlier, it started with about $350 billion in funds. That money ran out in 13 days. So they've decided that actually on the 26th of April, so tomorrow when I'm recording this, they will have $250 billion additional added, and that was agreed upon in Congress. The Democrats didn't want more unless an equal amount was allotted for state, local governments, and hospitals, because hospitals were not included, and hospitals obviously need money to keep going right now with the influx of patients and the influx of people needing their help. So the website was crashed for the first few days, actually, because so many people were trying to get on. The banks didn't really know what they were doing. It was a new thing. It was kind of rushed. the high traffic caused a lot of it to kind of struggle. The application process was actually quite confusing from what I've heard, and a lot of companies didn't really know what they were supposed to fill out, what they were supposed to include. So some conclusions. That was implemented really quickly. I don't think it was done as well as it could have been done. It was really sloppy. The demand was not close to met. That 350 billion that was originally allotted, that a lot of it was speculated that was like an eighth of demand is probably the average number that I saw in things. So not even close to what was probably needed. And then I'm going to talk real quickly about Antiquology in town. Me and my brother went down there, and my older brother spent a lot of time looking at these applications, and he asked them about it, and I was just standing there eating ice cream listening. But they said that a lot of the process was very difficult, and you had to have your taxes filed, which they extended tax day, so a lot of people didn't have that done yet. And there were companies that had less than 500 workers in a division, but more than 500 total, and they were able to apply. So there was a lot of things going on. And so Antiquology is one of those businesses that was able to stay open, but with less money, they're able to get like less people have money to spend on things like ice cream or sodas that you might not really need. But I mean, they're doing well, but they tried applying for that, and it was a whole mess for them. So the whole thing was real sloppy. It was rushed. It wasn't that great, but the government was trying, and that is a very important thing. For the government to assist its people in this time of need.